I wanted to ask about implementation a little bit more. I think we heard from the 40% plan, the opening statements, about a 1-year delay on the plan. I read the 150-word amendment, which is what's going in the Constitution if it passes. I don't see anything about that. Are you guys thinking that like DSU is going to pass this later on? I mean, because if they don't pass it, they'd have to do it right away, right?
No. Okay. Yeah, let's respond to that. Yeah. So first of all, it's 127 words. But yeah, let me clarify. Yeah, we kept it short and we kept it open so that DSU and SLC can have that conversation, right? Despite the fact that most of the DSU Senate isn't actually elected, they still need to have that conversation with group leaders. They still need to have that conversation with people to make sure that the bylaws they put in place are effective, right? There is no time limit on, you know, like, oh, everything that's passed in bylaws or constitution has to be effective immediately. We think it's absolutely the right thing to do, that we take this time. We think there's a perfect precedent for this. So we talk about bucket group experimentation, right? So a few years ago when they tried to create a bucket group for dance groups, they took time to experiment. It didn't quite work out, so they stopped it. We talk about 2002 when they tried to reform the entire funding model and generate subcommittees that are representatives of different types of group on campus. They spent months figuring it out, and it didn't work out, so they didn't do it, right? But the other experiments did work. So changing SLC's funding model from 75% and 25% fundraising to 100% completely funded by SLC, or changing things from restricting where groups can get money from instead of being like HTRL and class capsules. We think those kinds of things took people time to actually figure it out. I think those kinds of experiments worked. So we're not worried at all about the fact that this needs to be done in 3 weeks. We don't want it done in 3 weeks. We think this can be done really, really well. Yeah, it might be different from the way we envision it, and that's fine. We think this can be done well over the course of a year. We think this can be done well with more input on exactly how this is meant to be implemented. What we're here to do is to show you that, you know, hopefully students actually want this kind of system. They want this kind of accountability. They want this kind of control over what goes on around them at Duke. And that's really what the goal of this is. It's not to say we want to distribute funding exactly in this method. We have an idea of how we think this can work well, and of course we're going to pass that knowledge on to the passes, but we're not about to sit here and dictate everything that DSU and SLC should do.
So something I think is really important is they talk about this as an experiment, how you should really be thinking about this as an experiment. Again, this is one of the most costly experiments you could possibly think of. But you're talking about 40% of our student activities fee. Again, that's in our entire programming budget for 1 year. This isn't the kind of thing, and as far as I know, this isn't how you do experiments. When you do experiments, you start small. You start with a small sample size, and you work within a specific community, or you maybe start a program that's a Kickstarter program, and see if people want to donate to specific events. You don't take 40% of the student activities fee and call that an experiment. I call that a complete overhaul of the entire system, and something that really actually, if it doesn't have proven results, why should we be making such a drastic change? And I also think in terms of student life, when you're only here for 4 years, why are you going to take so much out of a student, 1/4 of a student's year, even if you're going to say this is a 1-year experiment, which I doubt it would be, because I think it would take time to see the effects and then make the student body repeal this. Why are you going to waste so much of the students' valuable time at Duke with this experiment in student life? Let's do other things. Let's maybe have people in StudentSG next year think about ideas and ways to maybe involve students more in the process. But that's not the 40% plan, and that's something I want to make very clear. Is any of these ideas of student allocation, whether or not someone is pro or against, it's about being pro the 40% plan, exactly how it's written, or thinking about other ways, creative solutions to these problems. And I think the 40% plan is the wrong way to go. It's way too costly an experiment for us to work with.